Okay. Colette, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us today. Before we jump in, could you give an intro on you, your background, your new company that recently launched, and that way I don't screw it up and stick my foot in your mouth.
Absolutely. So my story starts back when I was in college. I had a math degree, which I thought I was going to do really important math things with. And I ended up getting recruited to work for a startup in San Francisco. And my boss was the CMO. I was number 19. And he was like, "You seem really smart. Here's $1 million in Facebook spend a month. Go figure out how to spend it." And I was like, "I'm hooked. This is so much more fun than like whatever math idea I thought I was going to have in my future life." And that went really well. It turned out, luckily for all of us involved, that I was really good at spending millions of dollars on Facebook per month. That company got acquired by Microsoft. And then I was like, startups are so fun. Everything about this is great. And I thought startups were so fun that I wanted to make my own. So in 2016, I launched a company called Lightning AI, back before LLMs. So it was not using ChatGPT. And we automatically created and managed Facebook and Google ad campaigns autonomously. So that was really cool. It worked really, really well back in the days when Facebook and Google ad campaigns were more than just a black box. So that sold in 2022. Since then, I have been working in some type of like growth marketing capacity for 3 different companies. 2 of them exited since then. Now I have my own marketing agency where I come in as a fractional CMO and bring a whole team with me of people who are bringing companies to life, from startup dreams to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue.
I love that.
I'm Ibi Syed.
I'm Sean Collins.
And this is Numbers and Narratives.
Before we jump into why I reached out to you, you made it sound like you gave up on your math dreams, but didn't you also get like a master's in econ?
I do have a master's in econ, yeah.
So like you didn't want to get too far away.
So originally my plan for my life was to work in academic research. So I was actually in a PhD program for econ, studying game theory and auction theory, which felt super esoteric at the time. And I was like, this is going to be really great because I love teaching. I love like studying people and our behaviors. And then I got to my first semester of grad school and I was like, oh, I hate school. So that career nosedived pretty quickly, but I did end up getting my master's, and then it turns out that all of marketing paid ads are built on auctions. So that was actually like really cool because there's a lot of overlap that just accidentally happens there between my master's program and being an initial media buyer.
Amazing. That is fascinating. Well, I have to be careful not to dive into that because I could ask you a lot of questions about that. All right. So the reason I had reached out to you, and we were just chatting about this, I first came across you in 2022-ish. I saw you speak at MAU, and you were talking about, I think it was Mile IQ, right? Was the company and you took their Facebook ad budget to $0, and you were presenting on that, and so. I need to, first of all, can you give a little context on what happened and why you took ad spend to $0?
Okay, so there's so many things about MyLIQ that make it just like such a fun story in the world. So MyLIQ was the first startup that I worked for, and I joined in 2014, and then they were acquired by Microsoft. So when I got there, we were spending $1 million a month, and when we got acquired by Microsoft, somebody was like, if I added a 0 to your budget, what would happen? And so that was like the most fun experience that you can have in growth marketing, because there's like, I think that it's very common for people to say things like you have an unlimited budget, but it's not really true. And in this case, like that was true. Like we tried every channel, every tactic, all of the things. We were just like, how do we blow this up as much as possible? And that was super fun while it lasted. And then what happened to my like queue is that everyone who worked for the company ended up moving to different departments within Microsoft. And Microsoft ran it with no marketers. So this company that entirely grew from marketing, no sales team, no anything, like all of our revenue was marketing derived, and most of it came from paid ads, just went from this like massively large 8-figure budget to zero.
What's interesting, even, I hadn't even thought about this really, but you were one of the earlier companies, because Mile IQ was B2B, right?
It's funny because we were B2B kind of. So we sold to solopreneurs and like contractors. So we were going direct to consumer in that way. But we were working with businesses. So it's a little weird. It was kind of like blurry lines there.
Okay. I was just saying, because I feel like now we're still having the conversation of, is Meta a B2B channel or not? And so I was like, that's fascinating that 5-10 years ago, you were already putting $1 million into it a month.
What's crazy is that I can't even tell you how many clients I had over the years at Lightning AI where I would go to them and I was like, Facebook is a B2B channel. You can get better leads on Facebook. And they would tell me some version of like, no, you can't. And I was like, the Facebook algorithm works as long as you have data and you have any type of creative that is converting even a little. And so if you don't want certain leads to be tracked, like stop tracking them and then it will optimize better. And we did this for a number of companies and people still don't believe that B2B works for Facebook ads. And I am still blown away by that.
Yeah, that's like thinking, what's the show Severance? It's like thinking that people live in like a Severance world where like I'm not at work now. I don't even know what's happening at work.
I know. And why are we having to convince founders that they're not on Instagram? It's like, I know that you're on Instagram. I know 90% of your content is going to be other startup founders. So like you're watching this in your free time.
And also in my procrastination at work time, I'm watching all of this too. Yeah. So like, what are we talking about? Okay. So no marketers, everyone was gone. Ad spend went to zero. Now what?
Yeah. Then Microsoft sold the company back to the original founders. So I came in round 2, number 5. Because I reached out to the person who went to one of the founders and I was like, I have this other job offer. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. Like, what should I think about? And he was like, no, we're not doing that. We just bought back Mile IQ. And I was like, yes, I'm so excited. And like, everyone knew that the marketing was at zero. Like they hadn't sent out an email in like, I don't know, 4 years. And it was like, this is going to be the most fun project that I ever get to do because we had like millions of users in our database and no one had talked to them in years.
Bananas.
It was wild. But it was great. Like the growth that we had in the first like 6 months of me being there like you can't match that for a standard company. Like, and I wish that I could take credit that like I had some like magic, amazing idea of like, this amazing marketing strategy, but I literally just turned on emails. Like most of what we spent time doing was thinking about how many emails can we send per day before we're like throttled and looking at like our email open rates and making sure that we weren't getting filtered out in spam. Like that was like the biggest thing that we did. But we sent emails that were like, we're not part of Microsoft anymore. We're back. Aren't you excited to be here? Here's like some information for you. This is how you can use the product. And we turned on ads again. And it was incredible to see the level of growth that we had.
That's so cool. And so like if you, aside from validating that marketing matters, what are some of the takeaways that you have either stuck with you or that you've kind of like, as you've advised companies, as you've been coming in as this fractional leader, what are the takeaways and lessons learned from this?
I use text-based email almost all the time. I think that people love to make these like beautifully designed like e-commerce emails, and it's complicated to make, it's complicated to execute, and I don't get better performance from them. I get worse performance. The best performing emails that I write are something like, "Hi, I'm Colette. Let me tell you about like this new secret that I have for Sunday. Like, I'm so happy to start the week with you. Here's what happened to me. Like, what happened to you this week?" And people will like write me email, not me personally, but they'll write back emails. They'll like chat with us. They feel like they're part of a community. They feel engaged. And it's the way that we've made the most money at my last 3 companies that I've worked for.
I love that. I think the problem with that, though, is you have to have something to say. And a lot, I think a shocking number
I
of
think that
marketers
you're
don't.
probably in a lot of trouble if you're like marketing at a company and you don't have things to say. It's so funny. I was just at a conference earlier this year listening to somebody who was like viral on whatever platform, and he was talking about like, how do you tell a story? And someone in the audience said that. They're like, I don't have a story to tell. And he's like, you got to find your story. Like, you're a marketer. Like, your job is to have things to say. Your job is to have a story to tell. And even if it's the same story that you told a month ago, like, that's okay.
I
You
think
just have to tell
especially,
it.
and I think especially if it's the same story, like you should be telling the same story over and over again so people internalize it, right? Like,
Yeah, we should all have a message. And
yeah,
whether it's like, I'm Colette and this is my message and this is what I'm contributing to the world and this is like my mission, or you're like, my business is this mileage tracking app and our goal is to save you money on taxes. Like, there should always be a thing to say.
yeah. When between Mile IQ 1 and Mile IQ 2,
Mm-hmm.
did you find that thing that you were saying changed, or
No.
were you able to really come back and say, hey, it's me again, this still
Yeah.
matters, let's just do this?
I was like, it's me again. Remember this YouTube video that you probably saw and downloaded this ad from? We used to get so many complaints. This was back in the day, like before Black Box YouTube, right? And so like we were doing very specific targeting. Our number one ad campaign was people who were repairing their own dishwashers listening to rap music. Like, crushed it. There's no amount of money I could have paid for that audience for them to continue seeing my video of like that wouldn't have been performed well. It was just great. And those people used to see my video so many times that they would like call into support and complain and be like, can this person please stop being on my YouTube? Like, can I block you on YouTube? Like, I hate this video. But it was super effective. And so I was like, hi, I'm Colette. Remember me from this video that you saw and downloaded the app from? And they're like, oh yeah, I do remember that. 9 years ago or whatever number of years ago. But yeah, we came back, same message, a little bit different, like updated for kind of new laws and practices. But what was really interesting about my IQ in particular is like the audience was people who were not tech savvy. And so I would say the main difference over 6 years was like people had learned how to download an app, and that was great. But otherwise, like, a lot of what we spent time doing in our funnel was, how do you press buttons? How do you like do a walkthrough that feels like a human hand and not like a computerized hand? How do you send emails that are like, it is really hard to open up the app and remember how to like go in and press this one button. And that's what we did in all of our marketing campaigns.
Interesting. And so all right, now fast forward, you're doing wildly different stuff now.
Yeah, so now as of the last like month and a half, we're official. I have a company called Lightning GTM. We work with healthcare organizations who are going to market, and we bring them to life, which sounds different in the sense that like I work with a pharma company now instead of a mobile app, and so they don't have like a team of developers who I'm messaging at all hours of the night. But what's crazy about this industry is like they get FDA approval to start selling, and they need to spin up an entire marketing and sales org basically overnight. So they have usually taken like tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds, in debt or financing of whatever kind, and they're like, we need to get to $1 billion in revenue tomorrow.
Ah,
And so
and
that
so
feels the same.
what's the blueprint to consistently do that?
I think it's, it's not that different for any company when you're setting something up in the beginning. It's like, how do you get your website, figuring what is the content that's going to be effective? How do we do user research in order to actually understand, like, what are the pain points of the people who we're going to be working with? What are the words that people are saying? I'm a really big fan of making sure that the copy that you have in your ads is reflective of the words that people are using when you're talking to them, and making sure that you're consistent there. Um, and setting up all of the same types of campaigns that we would do in any industry.
So I want to spend the next bit talking about the research piece, but I do have one question on for a lot of these. Are these like e-com, like D2C pharma things, or like
No, it's like you need
what
a
are you
prescription.
optimizing towards?
Yeah. So typically we have two flows. So one is on the B2B side, like we're advertising to doctors and we're saying, hey, here's this new drug or medical device or whatever. Here's a new solution for this problem that you have for your patients. So that's one, is really like awareness of this new thing, and then contact your sales rep. So that's a pretty standard like B2B flow of just like, here's your new tech product, here's your account manager, book a call with us. So that's pretty standard. And then on the B2C, effectively the B2C side, what we're advertising is like, here's a new drug that can help you go talk to your doctor, or we have a list of like recommended doctors who you can meet with.
Okay, interesting. Okay,
But the D2C side is crazy because usually these companies are like, the competition is someone who's selling something for like $20, and the pharma company is going to make like tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars off of one prescription. And I think it's a really interesting industry because right now pharma companies actually don't really know how to do digital advertising. Like they do like billboards and TV ads. But when your competition is somebody who is making $20 of revenue and they're running hundreds of thousands of dollars in Google search ads, probably there's a market there.
yeah, huh. We will get to the research piece, but I have so many questions because I've never worked in pharma. Is there a reason that all of the TV commercials are the exact same and are so awful? Like, is there like a
Yes.
rule that you have to have like
It's
a
like,
low enough
yes.
quality?
It's not a low qual. You know what's so funny is that I have never met a group of people who spend more on creative than pharma. So it's like hilarious to hear you say that, because I mean, like, I don't disagree. Like they do all look the same. I think it's probably because there's like kind of a very small number of people who are working in this space, who are making the creative decisions, and they're all working for agencies, and they probably just rinse and repeat for the exact same one. Or, I shouldn't say that. Like, they probably have their own preferences about like whatever looks good and whatever they like. And I think that's what we all have natural biases for. But there are a lot of restrictions from the FDA about like, you have to say every single like safety precaution, and give a lot of information about like, there's just a lot of legalese that has to go into the advertisements. So the TV commercials have like a whole list of things that they try and read out really, really, really quickly at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, it is tough, I guess, to have like a inspirational or emotional video about reducing, for helping with incontinence or something like that, I guess. But like, I don't know. It's like I always just see like it's like a middle-aged, like a hot middle-aged dude riding a bike, and then then some woman in a field, and you're just like, what? How is this a medicine?
There's literally a billboard kind of like close to my house that I drive by, and it's a person playing basketball, and then they have a stethoscope like superimposed on top of it, and it's like Tremfya. And I'm just like, I don't know what that does. What condition do you treat? I don't know anything about it.
And so, yeah, is the goal that I'm going to Google it, or do I just like go to a doctor and be like, Tremfya, I want it?
I have no idea, but I'm really excited for the future success of my agency, because I'm going to answer questions like, what does Tremfya do on the billboard? And I just feel like we have a lot of opportunity here to just really be successful by adding very basic direct marketing features.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be the best out of home healthcare marketing company. Okay,
yeah,
so
who would have known that I would have gone from Facebook media buyer to being like, I'm the brand executive for pharma companies.
I want to hear more about the research piece on how do you figure out exactly the right words to use and the way people
Yeah.
are talking about it and the copy. And if these brands are spinning up or they're kind of branding the product super quickly and have to get
Mm-hmm.
to results so fast because of the amount of money they've sunk into this already. How do you do this at lightning speed?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first part is like preparation is the most important. A lot of what I talk to founders about and talk to executives in the space about is like, well, what are we doing in advance to understand who this audience is? And the more that you can do before you get to the place of like, oh, shoot, we need to go live right now, the better this entire transition is going to go. So personally, like I love doing like recorded user interviews. If people will agree to it, it's also great for like testimonials. You can use it as future video content. There's just so many different use cases for how this is going to be impactful. But I think one of the things that I've learned time and time again as a marketer is like, I have no idea what the right word is to describe something. And I can tell myself like, oh, I work for an e-commerce company and I sell laundry sheets. Therefore, people are searching for laundry sheets. But like, I don't really know. That's just my best guess. And sometimes I think we even create this marketing ecosystem where we're all using the same words internally with each other or like with our competitors. And it's actually not even what our users are saying.
Right.
Um,
Yes. I worked at a fintech before. And because I
mhm.
was going to say, when you said like the right words, it's like, well, I actually did know the like right words, like the technically correct words to use for things. But if I was to use that, people would be like, I don't know what that is. You know what I mean? So like sometimes the proper word is not the real word or
I
whichever
don't
way you
even
should
know how
phrase
many
that.
times I've asked people, like, when you're describing your company to your grandmother, what do you say? And I've had a lot of people who just come back to me and they're like, I don't talk to my grandmother about work. And I'm like, okay, but like as this thought
Yeah.
exercise,
Play
let's
with this.
just
Come on.
let's go through this. But I do think it's really important to be like reflecting the words and the vision that your users have back to them. Because you can't even like address the fact that they have a pain point if you're not thinking in their terminology.
I love that. I do have to say, as a somewhat lazy person, I was hoping you were going to have some sort of shortcut that allowed me to like just like $99 a month. There's a tool. It's going to tell me the right words I should be using. It still is. I have to talk to customers and
And
users is what
I
you're
can
saying.
even tell you like, and then after upload it to ChatGPT and just ask ChatGPT what the words were. Like, I don't even think that would work. It would just come back and be like, you said a lot of great words in that interview. You did such a good job interviewing
You're so
someone.
great. Yeah. Well, we rewrote this so it doesn't have any of the right words anymore.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fascinating. Okay. And so when you're doing this, because I guess on the healthcare side, there's so much testing and research that goes prior to that FDA approval, right? And
Hmm.
so is that who you're interviewing, is the people who've gone
Yeah.
through these
Yeah,
clinical
exactly.
trials?
Yeah, so it's clinical trial. It's people within clinical trials. Usually there's not just one clinical trial, there's like many. And so they've had a journey throughout this experience. What's hard about it is that there are a lot of restrictions on like patient privacy, as there should be. And so it is difficult to get access to the people who are in those trials, and they do have to like sign away a lot of provisions saying that like it's okay for them to have any interaction at all with the company.
Gotcha. And then, so I actually want to get back to Meta in just a second, but last question, I think, on this. If you weren't doing pharma and healthcare stuff, if you were, back at an app or an e-commerce brand or something like that, but you still wanted to follow this playbook of, getting the research and figuring out the words, how would you find the right, like if you didn't have this batch of humans who did a clinical trial, signed the waiver saying, I'll talk to you, how are you finding these early users to even do the initial kind of positioning and branding and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll assume that like most people have a customer and I would talk to that customer. I think the place where it gets hard is like, so typically the founder or, whoever's like initially doing something, they'll have like, this is my marketing and this marketing works really well for early adopters. And usually people can all kind of figure that out. And I think the jump happens when you need to go from I have early adopters to I have a sustainable business. And I would say that like that's where the testing and the iteration needs to happen is not just like on kind of this. I'm getting the same feedback from the same sets of people because we all have the same ideas and like every one of us had the same problem in the same way. And like here we all are. And that's why this company exists. But moving from that little bubble to like, okay, now I have to create demand or like teach people about a thing. And typically like the way that I would do that is like either running Google search campaigns or like Facebook ad campaigns, really low budget, and just going to like a type form quiz.
I love that. Okay. That's a great one. And that's actually the perfect segue. So I was reading a blog post or a Medium. I don't know. Does Medium count as a blog? I don't know. I was reading a post you wrote on Medium from like 3 years ago about the correlation between ad spend on Meta and performance on Meta. I would love, having the background of building a budget from $1 million once and from zero once, and then reflecting on this. Can you kind of talk about A, what's changed on Meta since 2022, B, how people should think about what is the right amount of money to put towards Meta, and is the right answer more? Is there, or should we think about efficiencies more? And kind of how would you think about allocation of budget across now the swath of channels that have a lot of engagement and ad platforms?
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I joined an e-commerce company called Hey Sunday as CEO. And I came in and I looked at the Facebook account, and the very first thing that I did was double all the budgets. And my investors were like, "What are you doing? You just spent all of our money." And I was like, "No, no, no, it's all going to be fine. Don't worry. It's going to be great." And literally our CAC went down by like 20%. So a lot. And like, we weren't able to keep raising budgets on top of that, but it made a sizable, like stepwise improvement in our performance overall. And the entire reason that like Meta wasn't working for them originally was that it just didn't have enough data in it. And I think there are like so many layers of what's changed in the last like 10 years as a media buyer, a planner, or whatever on Facebook and on Meta now. And like the entire company that I built to optimize performance and to create new campaigns and do all of these like builds and bidding algorithms and all of these like very complex things like is now completely irrelevant on Meta. And I think that the number one mistake that I see people doing on the platform right now is trying to like out algorithm the algorithm. Like we used to be able to do that, and now none of us have that job anymore. Like we all had to go find a different job. Um,
Right.
and there's a reason for that because the Facebook black box got better. But in order for it to work, it needs to have enough data points that it can actually optimize upon them. So if you're not getting enough data coming through, and I've seen this start to work at like 10, but really it needs like 30 conversions a day. And if you're not getting that, it's just not going to be successful.
And so was it a matter of like as you increased the budget or doubled the budget, was it a representation or out, I don't know, was the piece that mattered frequency going up, and so people just kind of seeing the ad and it eventually resonating, or was it that it was able to do more explore to find the right pockets
Mhm.
to exploit,
Yeah, it was
or
the
kind of what was
audience
going
size
on?
increase. So it was like a reach increase, not a frequency.
Okay.
Actually, I think the frequency was often too high. Like people would complain a lot about seeing like the same ads. What we also found for that company in particular is that the creative fatigue was like days. And this was my first time really like being that in depth in e-commerce and like being a like leader as for an e-commerce company, and I have never experienced creative fatigue in that same way. And like hopefully I never will again. Like we were literally switching out creatives every few days. We had so many influencer campaigns running. We had just like infinite ways of saying the same thing over and over again, just like piping through. And that was definitely a challenge. But for us at that company, I don't think frequency was a big deal. It was like a $15 product. It was very like quick for the sale time. And so we didn't need like a lot of kind of hand holding or like education on what that was. I think for like higher priced items, that would be something that would change a lot.
And so if the issue was volume of data and helping Meta know what were the pockets to really go after, what would you do if you couldn't have doubled your budget?
Yeah, which is probably most people in the world. Yeah. I think that I came into it with like a pretty strong instinct that we were optimizing towards the wrong group of people. And I was pretty fortunate and lucky that I came into a business that was already making money and like had a bank account and was given like a lot of free reign over how to spend that money. And so it was just like, do great, let's double the budget today. But if I like didn't have that opportunity, I would say that like I would have had to do a lot of user research and digging into our current customers to try and figure out like what are the different audience profiles that we're seeing here and what are the different value props for each of them. So in that case for Hey Sunday, we were advertising to an audience of like 60 plus women who were predominantly using the product because it was not heavy. And that was like their entire value prop was like, I like this thing because it's not heavy. I don't hurt my wrist opening it. And I am happy. But what we very quickly learned is that that audience is also extremely price sensitive. They're looking for deals constantly. They have a lot of free time. And so they're spending their time like just shopping for what $15 product is on sale. And then they just go and buy whatever one is on sale. So it was not a great like LTV play. And so if I were doing that like with no budget, my exploration really would have been like, how do I find people within my audience? And either I would do like a survey or I would just run it through like a prospecting tool and figure out like who are the people who are in different demographic audience segments and reach out to them individually. And I would literally just ask them like, why did you buy this product? Why are you interested in this product? How do you describe this to your friends? And kind of going through that same list. And I think we would have ultimately ended up in the same place, which was that we were not targeting the right people on Facebook. I know it would have taken a lot longer, but I think there's like different trade-offs that you have to make when you're at different types and sizes of companies.
Yeah. Fascinating, man. Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay. Anything else that that listeners should know about if they want to try and figure out how to get a little bit more juice out of Meta?
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, you need to test your creative. And that doesn't mean like change the background. Like, it means actually go test your creative. And I talk to people all the time who are like, I don't know how to do it. We don't have an influencer budget, whatever. Like, you need to figure out how to film something yourself. And at this point, like, if you're really spending a lot of money on paid social, like, you need to be able to do kind of the basics on just like recording yourself using a product or like doing a walkthrough of the product or like making some kind of even like static ad that just is like a screenshot of your Apple Notes folder that says how to go use a product. Like you have to be able to do some of this testing on your own to try and figure out like what is that right approach and what is the right messaging that's going to work.
I love that. Okay. Colette, this has been so much fun. If people want to learn more about you, hear from you, or work with you, what's the right way for them to get in touch?
Yes, the best option is to find me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me, DM me, or even better, just comment on whatever my latest post was. And I'll be so excited that you engaged with my post. I'm definitely going to respond like super fast, like lightning.
Can confirm. I've DM'd her randomly twice, and I got responses both times, years apart. So she is active there. This was so much fun. Once again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.